Right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the last session of Listing Mania. So, about 3 months ago, India Webster, who is the team leader at KW in Clifton, called a couple of us together and said, "Hey, how about we just kind of put this thing together for the whole month of October, and we're going to call it Listing Mania." And we, I guess, probably not really thinking, said, "Sure." And what you've seen in the last couple of weeks of this whole month has been really phenomenal. We've had all such great speakers, experts, and classes and events that I know a lot of you were able to get a lot out of. Today is actually our very last session, and we're bringing in the powerhouse Jason Abrams, who I and most of us call the Jerry Maguire of real estate. So he's going to close us out today. I also want to take the opportunity to have all the team leaders that with their market centers that actually participated in this whole listing mania. It was really awesome to get to know them and to work with them. And I also want to thank all the vendors that and our affiliates that supported what we're doing today. So saying all that, I want to pass it on to, I don't know if Joe is next or Shannon, to introduce you to all the other team leaders that participate in putting all of this together, because I think everyone really did a phenomenal job in getting that together. So Joe, can you introduce yourself and share a little bit about your experience?
Absolutely, absolutely, Leslie. Listen, thank you very much. To build off what you said, honestly, for those that have been on these sessions and involved from our first day for the month of October to today, these have been phenomenal, phenomenal sessions. I've sat in on a bunch of them. I'm thoroughly impressed by the speakers. Thoroughly impressed by the knowledge, education, the ability to help the culture. It just solidifies even more every day why I'm here at KW. I'll be honest with you too, guys. You've had a great opportunity to have some amazing team leaders, Leslie being one of them. Absolutely so involved. That's great. Thank you, Leslie, for that too. Shannon did another amazing job too. So it's great to have Shannon working with you. And I don't really work with you guys on a regular basis. This was a great experience for me. And of course, India. India was really the head of the whole thing. It was her vision, her picture to how this thing works. And quite frankly, this went off pretty good. This was an amazing, amazing opportunity. Having great sponsors is important too, because these are our vendors, these are our partners in our business. And so our partners really, they did an amazing job being involved and, offering things, offering advice and suggestions as well. And to be honest with you, the topics that we discussed were phenomenal. The tech part of it, the behind the scenes part of this, you're not seeing this, but quite frankly, the technology part is phenomenal. I want to thank my tech person, Annie Lou. Annie did a great job. I'm sort of tech challenged a little bit too. So, but I think this is a great opportunity for everyone too. So that being said, I want to pass over to Shannon so Shannon can give some comments on her part too. So Shannon, it's all yours.
Joe, thanks so much for the kind words. One thing we know here at Keller Williams is that no one succeeds alone. And boy, this month has really shown us all just how true that is. I walked into a meeting yesterday and somebody said, what's going on? The training has been through the roof this month. They sort of hadn't caught into the fact exactly what we'd done. They just knew every day they were opening up their email and the choices were like a smorgasbord of training. So India, kudos all goes to you for coming up, having the vision to do this and building the template for this so that we can hopefully do it going forward, all the time. All of our brains are working on other great things we can pull together. From my market center, especially, I've got to thank Jackie Marcano, who has been the tech genius extraordinaire for this. The whole tech crew has been great, but we've learned a lot. We've had a lot of fun. Have to give special kudos to Lucy Thompson, who won the Listing Scripts Championship. She was amazing. All the presenters have just rocked this, as of all the sponsors. I know my guys at Guaranteed Rate have really pulled through for us over and over again. So cannot thank you all enough. And India, I'd love to turn it over to you.
thanks so much, Shannon. And I'm going to say, yes, this is going to be the long-winded version of it because I have to say thank you to everyone. So good morning, everyone. This has been a journey to bring this idea to fruition. And I appreciate the partnership and bonds that were created along the way in working with my fellow team leaders. And so, as you guys have already heard from Leslie, who's the host for today, from the Middlesex office, or Shannon, who represents both the Summit and Westville offices, and Joe, that represents the Montgomery office. It has been a pleasure meeting with you after hours to get this thing done, but we did it. And so I also want to thank several others who were behind the scenes, like they were saying, they helped out with the marketing and technology and coordination for this month-long event. And so my team, I want to make sure to thank my teammates, Catherine Flores and John Kim. It helped out the whole month, and actually beyond that with this, and from the other market centers, you know, some of the team leaders have named them, but I also want to say special thanks to each one of them that included Jacqueline Marcano, Annie Lou, and Richard, who is in charge of the show today. All right, so kind of like in terms of just the training classes. In the end, the training classes and the panel content consisted of the knowledge and expertise of the agents from our respective offices. And they shared, you know, they took the time out of their busy schedules to share and participate in Listing Mania. And so it's a perfect example of our family culture, and your efforts are appreciated. The fact that two national speakers, to include Linda McKissick, who taught Take 10 Listings every month, and our speaker today, Jason Abrams, added classes to our schedule is a testimony of our KW culture as a whole, and we thank them for their time and knowledge. So thank you to Deborah Kerr, operating principal of the Metuchen office, for solidifying Linda's training on Monday, and then Kristen Cook of my office for arranging for Jason Abrams to be our closing speaker today. Also, of course, like you guys were talking about, listen, our vendors had to couldn't have this happen without, you know, highlighting our vendors. And so that included Guaranteed Rate, Valentino Inspections, Turnkey Inspections, and Freedom Mortgage. And want to share this, guys. They are not only donated, you know, prizes for, you know, the month, but they're also donating to KW Cares. So it's all about community. So lastly, in the end, for me, it's all about home. I appreciate the agents from my market center who from Keller Williams Team Realty in Clifton that took advantage of the knowledge that was shared this month, and my leadership team for their support and allowing me to have the time to make this happen. So remember, you know, about tomorrow, guys, because we have a special opportunity for a Q&A session with Jason Abrams at 10 o'clock, and that is open to the agents from each of our respective market centers that are in the top 20% of their production, and for guest agents that we've invited. So make sure, you know, if you haven't already registered per the invitation, put your information in the chat and say yes to Jason Abrams, include your name and your email address. And again, that's for those folks that fall into that category. Have made that special effort for you guys, and that was based upon Jason offering. So if you ask, you know, they give, and it's beautiful that, you know, we're at this point. So thanks to everybody for their efforts. All right, have a good one, guys. Enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you, India. Thank you. Before I introduce our affiliate and our vendor today, which is Frank Valentino of Valentino Inspection, I just wanted to also thank our tech team at KW Elite. That's Richard Phelan, and I think he had one of the turns. He had Lucy Phelan help with that as well. And I'm going to tell you, if you ask me where I'm at in the tech spectrum, from 1 to 10, I'm probably at a -2. So I really appreciate those guys. Anyway, I do want to. I know Frank was here earlier. I know he's on, so I want to make sure I introduce you to Frank Valentino. He has been a real blessing to us at KW Elite and several other market centers in our region. Not only does he does wonderful home inspections, very thorough, very knowledgeable. He also supports our KW Cares. He has these where sometimes he donates $25 to KW Cares every inspection that he does. So he supports us in a lot of ways. He did provide some great prizes today for our attendees. And some of those things in here, there's about one of them in particular. I think this one has about $500 worth of products in here. So he's going to be asking you a question, and whoever the first individuals that answer that question correctly will be winning these prizes. So Frank, if you can come in and share with us about Valentino Home Inspection, we'd really appreciate it. Frank? I think he might be muted. Okay, got it.
Unmuted. Thank
All right.
you, Leslie. And
Yeah.
once again, thanks for letting me be a part of this. Most of you I haven't met because these are certain other offices that I haven't been around yet. But I just want to let you know I do have over 30 years in the construction industry. I've been a home inspector for about 5 years now. Not an alarmist. I know that always is the first question that you guys like to ask. I don't have much time, so I'm just going to be brief. I'm going to get a list of everyone who's participated today, and I will at some point contact you with my contact information. I deal with a lot of real estate offices in New Jersey and in New York, and I have to be honest with you, Keller Williams is my family. Leslie, she adopted me, and we moved on from there to other offices, Keller Williams offices, and I really admire you guys. I admire what you do, the culture, the diversity, and KW Cares I think is amazing, and I do try to give back whenever I can. That being said, I do give a thorough inspection. My client is my #1 priority, but I do understand my obligation to my referring agent because you do put me on your team as part of a link in your chain, and we are a team. And when you refer me, I understand that I represent you, and I do that to the best of my ability. And the way I do that is by the way I treat our client. Okay. I could go on, and I don't want to babble because I know I don't have a lot of time. So that being said, I will contact everyone once I get your information, and I'll send you my contact information. I'll be more than happy to come by your office anytime, speak to any one of you or a group of you. And I feel once you get to know me a little bit better, you'll understand me and you'd be a little more comfortable to refer me to your clients. So I will be in touch with all of you. Leslie?
You have a question for us?
I do have a question. We've got about, let's see, 68 participants here. All right. First 3 people that answer this question correctly will get a bag. Very nice L'Oreal bag that my wife put together for you guys. And the question is this. In the 1950s, an electric company started manufacturing an electrical service panel. By the 1980s, the panel was discontinued.
Federal Electric.
I don't think you're supposed to yell that out.
Let's put in the chat.
Yeah, put it in the chat. I'm sorry, can you finish the question? I don't have the answer yet. What's the question?
Leslie, I think you wanted them to message these answers, correct?
Yeah, type it in the chat, yeah. So I
Okay.
can count who the first 3 are. Go ahead.
Already got that.
This is like Jeopardy. Don't yell out the answer. All right. I start again. 1950, this electric company started manufacturing a electrical service panel for the homes. By 1980, the panel was discontinued because insurance companies found that the panel had a lot of malfunctions that were the cause of a lot of home fires. Do you know the name of this manufacturing company?
Okay, so the first answer I have in here, first person type it in is Federal Pacific. Is it Federal Pacific?
How many answers do you have so far?
I have about 10 of them. I have either Federal Pacific or Federal Electric.
Federal Pacific is the name.
Okay, so the first one, Federal Pacific, is Marianne Slam.
Yay, I have, and unfortunately I have one at one of my listings right now.
Well, that's a shame.
It's a shame.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep track of these, and the next one with Federal Pacific is Cheryl Psycho?
Psycho, that's me.
Okay. And the third one is Deep Patel.
Okay, guys, congratulations. I hope you enjoy your prizes. And like I said, I will be in touch with you. My phone number, in case anybody wants to write this down, is 848-235-2415. If anyone has any questions or concerns, you can contact me anytime. But as I said, I will forward my business card to all of you once I get your information.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stay with you guys today. I have to get to work, but I appreciate you guys letting me be a part of it. Leslie, thank you so much, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Frank. The three people who won, if you could just message me or just put in the chat your email address. Leslie, we can't hear you. I don't know what's going on, Leslie. We really can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why that's not picking up.
I don't know what happened. Okay, well, that's good. All right, very good.
Now we can't hear you.
What is going on? It goes in and out. Okay, can you hear me now?
Not really, no.
Okay, I have no idea. It's not muted. Well, we have our tech.
Lucy, can you switch her to the microphone and the camera?
Leslie, we can hear you. It's just very, very light, very faint.
Oh, now she's muted.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Yes.
Completely better?
Yeah, it's much better.
It was fun, and all of a sudden, it kind of went out. All right. Okay, great. Well, all right, guys. Well, I'm so thrilled that you guys knew the answer to those questions. We're going to wait to see. Jason is in the middle of a meeting right now.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
He's on. I see him.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. I'm glad to hear. Well, I'm going to say I really don't need to introduce Jason. If you don't know Jason yet, I mean, now you will. But I'm going to tell you, Jason's one of my favorites at KWRI. And the reason I say that is because he is such a global to our culture and to our office. I mean, we'll send an email or a call to Jason. Jason, I need you to jump into this. And Jason's like, he really gets in there. But my favorite nickname for you, Jason, is, you know it. Do you know it? What's my favorite nickname for you? He probably doesn't know because he has a lot of nicknames. Well, first of all, my favorite nickname for you is the Jerry Maguire of real estate. I don't have to call him that. And lately, though, he seems to be an air musician because meeting we have, he's playing some kind of instrument. But anyway, guys, I really want to honor Jason's time, and I want to honor your time as well. So I want to give him the most time to share with us. Jason is actually, please tell us a little bit about yourself, and then go into.
How about this? How about how about I don't? So I was reading this book. It's called Simply Said by Jay Sullivan, and here's what it says. It says, "Newsflash: your audience doesn't care about you." Now this was hard for me, but it goes on. It says nothing personal, but they don't. In fact, they don't really care about your content either. Now, I was shocked when I got to that part, but then it goes on and it says, in fact, they care about how your content impacts them, which is different than your content itself. I love the book. It's called Simply Said. So when I got to that point in reading that book, I started to ask myself, I said, self, no wonder no one listens to you because they don't care. And then I was thinking, well, then what do they care about? And I've been on this quest to try to figure it out. And so I found this other book. It's called The Wealthy Gardener. And here's what The Wealthy Gardener says. The wealthy gardener said that many things are more important in life than money. But overcoming the money problem allows us to focus on these important things. Without money and time, we yield little power over life. And I mean to tell you, when I read that, in my life, when I've had no money, that doesn't make me feel strong. When I felt like I've had no time, I don't feel very powerful. Then it goes on to say, when faced with a problem that money can solve, and here's the key, we have the money to solve it, then we face a trivial problem. But lacking this money, the smallest of life's problems turn into the worst of life's problems. And I thought that was such a simplistic, just brilliant way of saying that, like, the reality is we may have all come to Keller Williams for different reasons, and we're all in different places in our journeys. But the truth of it, without money and time, we yield little power over life. How we define how much of that money we want and how we define how much of that time that we want, all of a sudden that becomes the differences between us. This is to say that some of you are willing to settle for a hell of a lot less than some others of you. And some of you are talking about having a huge life, but you're not actually living it. And others are actually living it and spend very little time talking about it. And I make no judgment. I am absolutely agnostic across that entire ecosystem. But I do know this. I do know that we all have to come to a new belief. And I believe that this belief is we all should have all of the things that we want. That is it. And it's just that simple. This is to say that whatever it is that you want to be more greedy for, and I don't care if it's money, if it's love, if it's power, if it's time, if it's companionship, if it's connection, if it's freedom, all of those things are well within your grasp. See, I believe that we all come into residential real estate for one reason. Now, we all dress it up as other reasons. We all say, well, I got here because I wanted to be my own boss, or I got here because I wanted to set my own hours, or I got here because I wanted to be in charge of my own income. Did you know in this country, when polled, 67% of all working people say that they would rather have a new boss as opposed to a pay raise? Think about that. I got that from a book called Why Do So Many Incompetent Men Become Leaders and How to Solve It. That's on the first page. It's a great book if you haven't read it. And I was thinking about that. 67% want a new boss. And then I was thinking about all of you. And then I realized that all of you are your own bosses. And I'm wondering if the percentage still applies. And that's when I get really depressed and just usually turn these calls off, because I am my own boss. And if I would not want to be ran by me, then who am I looking to bring into my world by which to run it? And so I asked myself, do I really believe that I have the ability to do it? And then I was reading in this book called $1 Million Habits, because I'm on the quest for belief. And you know what the book says? It says, hey, if belief cannot be willed, then how does one acquire it? Which, by the way, is a really great question to ask. The truth is, belief can't be willed. Have any of you ever joined a gym in January? No, you don't have to raise your hand. It gets weird. But let me just ask you, did you ever quit in February, March, April, May, or June? And for the most of us, the answer is yes. That's because belief cannot be willed. There, we just prove it. But if it can't be willed, then how does one ever acquire it? And the book says it's the same way that he or she achieves an understanding of the way that the world works, through the attainment of knowledge and wisdom. Write it down. Knowledge and wisdom. The greater your knowledge and wisdom, the more confident you are in your beliefs. Well, this makes sense. But by knowledge, we're referring to the acquisition of specific information. By wisdom, we're referring to insight or common sense. And so here's what Gary Keller and I believe. We believe that you're all born with an immortal soul, and in that soul is all of the wisdom that you would ever need. That's why when you hear somebody speaking who says something that connects with you, it's called an insight. A sight from inside. That's the genesis of the word. It's a sight from within. You don't call it an outsight. None of it is coming from you from the outside. This is why throughout history, all of the great sages, all of the great wise people, all of the great worldly religions, all of them say start to look from within. And as people, we immediately say, great, I want to look within, but where should I start the journey? What spa should I travel to? Where in the world should I go? Who do I need to have coach me? Who's the new therapist going to be? What's the new secret? It's all inside. You see, most of us will travel the world and never get the insight that we could have spent traveling around the campfire, which is simply to know that if all of this is here, then the quest that we're on in life is to simply find the people who will give us the keys to unlock the wisdom that we already have. And so I get asked, come speak about listings. And then I ask you, is there really anything new you need to learn? I don't understand what that thing would be. I don't know what I could possibly teach today that you don't know about listings. How many of you have ever said, the challenge is that I have all these people that want to list their house, but I can't figure all this damn paperwork out. I guess I'm out. None of you have ever said that. I can't teach you anything about that. There's 12 blanks on an exclusive right to sell, and 2 of them are your name. I can't bring you any knowledge about it. What I think I'm here to do is simply help you unlock the wisdom that you already know everything about listing real estate. I think what you're asking for is just some new tactics by which to allow you to have an insight differently. In which case, I could have been subbed out for any hack, because that's all that the speakers that you hear are. And you say, well, wait a second, I've heard some great speakers. It was only how you showed up that day that allowed you to hear them. Do you really think their content was changing because you were in the room? Not at all. As a matter of fact, their content is the same every time because they're based on universal truths. We've been saying the same damn thing for 30 years. That's why there's no MREA 2. Spoiler alert. It's because MREA 1 was written on real good truth. The truth is really simple. The more people that are in your data bank, the better chance you have of being in human relationship. Shocker, I know. Then we went on to break the wheel and say the more you follow up with people, the better chance you have of being top of mind to them. Oh my gosh, now we're getting profound. And then we went on to say that people do business with people they like. And so if you really wanted to judge your day, it wouldn't be by the number of contacts that you made. It would be the number of people who like you more at the end of the day than did at the beginning. Because we're in a relationship business. The secret to listings? It's the secret to everything else, which is that residential real estate, much like life, is a popularity contest. There, I said it, and some of you hate it, but it's the truth. You're simply trying to win most popular realtor in the life of the people you're trying to influence. That's all it is. That's why you can interview top agents in your office and they'll tell you the number one touch that we do is we send some sweet treat in December. We're sending chocolate, we're sending popcorn. And then you actually believe that there's any secret to the touch that you're making, and it isn't. It's the absence of touch happening from everybody else. You see, if people like you, you're going to sell more homes. And the more people that like you, the more homes you will sell. Now, this becomes dark as 1,000 midnights for those of you that have to look up and say, well, I'm not selling any. Does that mean I'm unlikable? Let me be the first to tell you, maybe. And that would be okay. But walking around being unlikable and not being willing to look up and ask the question, am I or aren't I? That wouldn't be. But let me then tell you to a dark place and take you to a light place. It's not that you're not likable. It's that your human superpower is probably not known by enough people. This is to say that I believe every one of you has a superhuman power. I believe that. It's your ability to connect with others. You were born with it. And if you operate entrepreneurially with your ability to be liked, I promise you, you will have the same number of friends today as you do tomorrow and as you did the day before. I promise you, because over time, you actually get worse at making friends. I got a 7-year-old little boy. He can walk into any room full of other 7-year-olds and say the word poop, and all of a sudden, he's in. They love it. He's a genius. You had the exact same power. As a matter of fact, you all spent the early years of your life honing the super ability to be likable and make friends. And you collected them at scale. But then you started segmenting them. I have school friends. I have out of school friends. I have cool kids. I have not cool kids. I have the friends that I'm going to be nice to in private that I won't be nice to in public. Don't ask me how that all works, but it does. And then you got into high school and realized that you were only going to truly let yourself yourself be known by 2 or 3 people. And now you then go to college and make a whole new group of friends based on binge drinking, but then you let those go as soon as you become an adult, and you end up being friends just with the other people that are in your kids' peer group or that are closest to you in proximity. And you end up with less friends than at any other point in your life. Now, you then progress through, and here's what the data shows, that at some point you hit an age where you realize that the true value, the true wealth is made up in relationships. And in your 50s, 60s, and 70s, you actually start acquiring friends again at scale. And all I'm going to tell you is this: the quest for residential real estate sales is nothing more than the quest for more friends, period. Now, some of our more marketing-based agents are going to say, well, that's not true. I'm bringing in leads that are online. I'm on billboards. I'm doing all these things. For me, it's about meeting strangers and aggregating them. Said differently, all you are is better at generating people you might become friends with. Let's just debunk this thing for a second. If you're waking up every day and you think that the key to getting listings is to do a bunch of activities that you don't like, then the joke's on you. Because this thing of ours wasn't supposed to be about doing things you don't like. If y'all want to do stuff you don't like all day, there's an actual place for that. It's called prison. And I promise you, they will give you a whole daily list of chores you won't enjoy. That's not what Keller Williams was supposed to be. This thing of ours, this thing that we have, residential real estate sales, the reason that it's so precious, the reason that the boneyards and the graveyards are filled with people that are smarter than you and I who are going to come in and disrupt the industry is because there's a secret here. That human relationship is the key. That the technologies that we build should do nothing more but magnify our humanity. That a simple smile is worth more than 800 emails. That truly sitting and caring about somebody, I call it love, is actually what lead generation was supposed to be. So stop saying lead generation and just start saying love, and you'd be a hell of a lot closer to unlocking the wisdom that's already inside of you on why you don't have enough clients. My guess is it's because you're not getting the opportunity to love enough people. And if you are trying to love enough people, you just need better models and systems to do it at scale. That's it. That's the whole thing. People don't do business with us because they don't understand the process. It's a fact. People don't do business with us because they're absolutely shocked that we're able to order a sign. People don't do business with us for any of those reasons. They do business with us because on a secret level that they don't like to talk about at parties, they want to have a human stand next to them when they make their most important financial decisions, period. That's it. That's the human connection that they can't get around. It's the same reason that if you go out for a walk at night, it feels better to take somebody with you. It's the same reason that early humankind stayed together in packs as opposed to going into caves by themselves. We can't help ourselves. And the life events that are forcing your people to move, they're happening whether you're in the real estate business or not. Nobody is saying, well, I wasn't planning on moving, but now that Andy got in the business, maybe I'll take a look at that. That's not what's happening. They were having these life events anyway, and they're going to continue to have them, and they're going to continue to buy and sell real estate, whether you're here or not. These life events are the same as they are for you. They get a job, they lose a job, they find love, they get divorced, they get rich, they get poor, they have a kid, they become an empty nester. These are the basis of when people buy and sell real estate. It's the same reason people have been moving since the beginning of time, and that's not changing. And every generation looks up and says, our generation is going to be different. We don't want big houses. We want to live in a van because that feels good. Every generation says that until they can actually afford the real shit they want. And then they become consumers that day. It happened in the 60s. It happened in the 70s. It happens in the 80s. The idiots now that are boondogging, it's going to happen to them too. Nobody, it turns out, wants to drive a smaller car. As soon as they can afford it, they run and they buy a big one or a Maserati. Those things haven't changed either. And so instead of being on the quest to somehow change human nature, or instead of being on the quest to come up with some creative way to connect with people, let's just go back to what we already know and love. So let's play this game together. Take out a sheet of paper. And all I want you to do, if you're willing to play the game with me, is write down 3 things that you love to do. I don't care what they are. I'm agnostic. Any 3 things that you love to do will work. Here's the only caveat. It can't be something that you do alone. That's it. So some of you are writing things like, I love to golf. And I get it. I know you golfers, I get it. Joseph, when you put on those white pants and you got an orange belt and you look good, I know how you feel about slaying the day. All I'm saying is if you love to golf, maybe do it twice a week from now on, but do it with 3 strangers each time. You won't have a lead generation problem ever again. You know why? Because the homeless don't have clubs. I know that sounds terrible. I'm being judged right now. I feel it. I'm saying it for the shock value, which is, here's the thing. You already are all in communities right now. I'm just asking you to broaden and expand them. Joseph knows 3 people that he could golf with. I bet you he golfs with the same groups every time. All I'm saying is if you did it with 3 strangers each time, you don't call it golf anymore. You call it love and lead generation. You just happen to do it with a club in your hand. How could lead generation become the best part of your week? I promise if you love golf, that's it. Joseph, I do advise you to tell your loved ones this is a business model and not a hobby, or your significant other will hate you if you start golfing 3 days a week. But I mean to tell you, there's nothing that you love doing that there's not another group of people that love doing also. Look, you name it, there's another group that wants to do it. Board games. I know a guy who loves board games. I don't. I'm an adult. He loves them. And what he does nowadays, he literally plays board games 1 night a week in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He found a little bar. He went to them, and I get it. It's COVID. Everything and all limits are off. We'll discuss COVID-friendly lead generation in a minute. But here's what this dude does. At 5 o'clock on a Thursday, anyone that wants can wander into the bar. He has 5 board games set up at different tables. And you know what? It turns out there's a lot of other weirdos that like playing board games after work. I never would have got that. By the way, not my group of people. But that's why I'm not running the board game event. But I'll tell you this, if the essence of relationship begins with human attraction and then moves step 2 into shared experience, then it would make sense. But by the way, if you want to fight how relationships are made, then do it on your own time, because your customers don't want to rethink how they grade people. Number 1, there has to be some sort of immediate attraction. Number 2, there has to be some sort of shared experience. Number 3, trust has to get built. That's it. Those 3 things in order. Once you get it, you're done. That's relationship. You'll spend the rest of your life going deeper on those 3 things. You're not going to somehow mythically add a 4th. There's no 4th. That's it. Attraction, shared experience, trust. Those things might break into subcategories. There's nothing else. So when we sit around and we say, well, I got to come up with a new lead generation model. Why? For what? Do you realize that if lead generation could become your favorite part of the week, you'd love the residential real estate business? That's the part you don't like. That's when someone says, will you come on and talk about listings? What they really mean, they won't say it, Leslie won't tell you that. What they really mean is, can you please get people to be willing to think about generating leads differently? Because every single person in my office is capable of listing and selling a house in the hottest real estate market we've ever lived in. Like, spoiler alert, if you put it on the MLS, it's going to sell. Yes. We just need more at-bats. You can grade the strength of your data bank by the number of people that call you each week and say, will you come list my home? And some of you have to look up right now and come to the cold conclusion that if we're giving rankings from 1 to 10, and that's the scale, you're at a 0. Because no one called you this week and said it. And the mega agents that we look up with, they're the ones that are at a 6 or 7. And we watch them walk from their desk to the board to write up the new sale as if they've figured out something that we don't know. They don't know anything you don't know. They just found the wisdom inside of them that told them they have to be more likable to more people, period. You love wine, start hosting wine tasting 2 nights a week. You love happy hour and day drinking, cool, no judgment. You better start doing it in some way that invites other people that like the same things with you. You love cooking, awesome. Start teaching it 1 night a week to 2 or 3 people at a time. If you're any good at it, I promise finding the people to do it with won't be a problem. You love party planning? Good, throw one. You know, people say to me all the time, I'm so tired of having to start over. I'm so tired of always starting over. How about then stop giving up? You won't have to start over anymore. Don't start over on the things you love. Give up the things you don't. That's the problem that we all, by the way, none of this is your fault. Your parents screwed you all up. And by the way, if you're still lucky enough to have them, I love that. But they're the ones that did this to us. You know, by the way, you know how I know this? I'm in the process of screwing up my kid right now. I promise you. You know why? From the time he was an infant, I told him you never talk to strangers. I've been pounding that into his head like no other. I've also been telling him now, look, dude, you need to become more self-sufficient. Stop asking me for help. You can wipe your own bottom. I believe in you. And you know what? Here are the two messages he gets from dad. Don't talk to strangers and don't ask for help. You know what's going to happen in like 15 years? He's going to go to college, and 8 years later, he's going to get an undergrad degree. And I'm going to be really proud. And you know what? Then he's going to say, Dad, I'd like to come into the business. And I'm going to say, awesome. First thing you got to do, talk to 40 strangers a day and ask every one of them for help in the way of sending you a referral. And he's not going to know why he's so screwed up that day and why he fails out. I will have done that. That will have been me that set him up that way. You remember that the vast majority of every sale isn't made in the words that you say. It's made in the way that you're positioned prior to ever getting in the room. I'm positioning him to not being able to talk to strangers or ask for help. And every one of you are positioned the same way. You wonder why you have such a hard time waking up every day and counting the number of strangers you talk to? You've been hardwired not to do it. Please stop trying. Instead, make the list of the things you are comfortable doing. Make the list of the things that you get energy from, not take energy from you. You want the easiest way to know if something is good and true for you as a human? Ask yourself the question after you do it. Did it give me energy or did it take it away from me? And the things that take from you, please stop doing those things. And the people that take from you, tell them to go take from someone else. I don't know why, as humans, we need somebody else to give us permission for things, but can I please, although I have no mandate to do it, give you permission to outgrow the relationships that take energy from you? And I don't know what that means to you, but there's someone on this call who just had an epiphany because you know who's been taking the energy of you. Will you please go tell that person to F off and tell it on behalf of me, and you can quote me when you do it? Because you don't deserve any of that. You deserve to have all the things that you want, but for some reason, half of us don't feel worthy to have it. But you know why? It's because there's a roommate that you've been living your life with. And it turns out that person is absolutely insane. I know that sounds weird, but I'm going to prove it to you right now. Everybody take a deep breath. No one's too cool. Just take a deep breath with me for a second. And then I want you to yell the word hello inside your mind. Yell it as loud as you can. And now stop and come to the realization of what simple, amazing thing you just did. You literally yelled without saying a word. You had a completely different tone. You did it within your own head, and you're the only one that heard it. Said differently, the roommate that you've been traveling with has been in here the entire time. When you're laying in bed at night, Grace, yes, that's from the Untethered Soul. I keep it on my desk. When you are in your room at night and your mind, right now, your mind is saying to you, page 17, why am I doing this? I have more important things to do. This is a waste of time. There's nobody here but me. What's this all about? Right on cue, there's your roommate. You may have made a clear intention for something, but your roommate won't cooperate. Y'all, that roommate is just you. They're your thoughts. This sounds like such a simple idea, but this is so profound. This is the idea of looking from within. The idea that it's too hard, you're the one saying that. I'm so tired, but I can't fall asleep. You're the one saying that. I can't get this song out of my head. You crazy people are actually singing to yourselves. That's just you. We're born with these gifts. Mind, the ability to even have thoughts, consciousness, the ability to take in all of this majesty, and then our thoughts betray it, which is the third gift, because once you realize they're your thoughts, you are literally sitting in the center of mental health at any given time. Brene Brown I've gotten to hang out a little bit. Really, really a magnificent soul. And she says something that's so obvious. She says, the story that I'm telling myself is blank. And fill in the blank. And I'm telling myself, I have this crazy roommate. You guys are all probably better than me, and your roommate's really smart. Mine's nuts. Mine's telling me these stories all the time about what other people are thinking about me. I'll tell you how crazy my roommate is. It's probably nothing like yours. I get a text message from someone, I write back, and if they don't reply, my roommate starts telling me all the reasons they're not replying. Like, I don't even know how my roommate knows that, but mine makes up stories about other people. Mine makes up stories about places and things. Mine makes up stories about my ability to succeed and is constantly telling me that I'm not going to. How do you get more listings? It starts by actually thinking that you can. And half this room doesn't think so. And that's total bullshit, because every one of you can. There's another group in this room that says, I don't like to lead generate. Stop doing it then and start loving people one-to-one individually. And if you don't have enough people to love, then go do something you love and take other people that love the same thing along. And there's another group in this room that said, well, he didn't give us anything new to think about. Cool. I honor that group too. You know why you're here? You're literally here to help us get better every time somebody presents. Because if you didn't hear anything new today, here's the secret. There isn't anything new to teach. The models and systems that we teach here, they're the best models and systems in the world. We write the book on them at Keller Williams. That's just what we do. Gary and Jay didn't make this stuff up on the Uber ride on the way to write the book. They interviewed 125 millionaires and then wrote a book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. That's why the model works. Models and systems are guesses and suggestions. That's what they are. They're models, they're systems. The reason there's no new Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, spoiler alert, it's because the first one was so damn good. The models and systems still work. Let's talk about Christian Louboutin for a second, because I know this is a high-end market center, and I know y'all have them. I get it. But you know what? The model and system for the high heel, he didn't create it. It had been created forever. He came in with creativity and painted the bottom of it red, and it went from being worth $50 to being worth $2,500. That's where creativity comes in. Go seek the models and systems that are already there. I don't have any new ones for you. There haven't been any new ones in the last 30 years. You know how you can prove it? Make a list of every single way that you lead generate. Do it right now. What do you got? You got open houses. You got pay-per-click leads. You got door knocking. You got farming. You got sphere of influence. You got business to business. Anybody else you got radio? Let's just say one of you is on a billboard. I dig that. Anybody, you got a TV show? I was on one, number one in our time slot, 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., number one in our time slot. Anybody else have any other ideas? So that's it. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got 9 ways to generate leads. You realize that the first board of realtors was incorporated in 1891? 1891. 1891. You know what that means? That means that since 1891, we've all only come up with these 9 things. How many new models can there be? There's not. What's missing is your genius to simply paint the bottom of one of them red. That's it. Joseph, you're not going to reinvent the game of golf. But I would guarantee that if you think about how you can bring 3 strangers every time you go, you will have painted the bottom of every golf shoe red for your life. That kid with the board games, he didn't reinvent the game Uno or Sorry or Parcheesi. But I promise you, he painted the boxes red as soon as he opened it up on Thursday nights, put them in a local bar, and adds to his SOI every time he does it. I don't know what you're going to paint red, but you better go figure it out, because that's the difference. And then at some point, you're going to hit this plateau where what you're doing is working and it doesn't do anything else. That happened to Christian Louboutin too. You know what his plateau was? Ladies, y'all figured out that anytime you wear the shoes, the red paint chips off within like 8 minutes. I know it. I saw y'all were there with the red nail polish. You were comparing red markers. I get it. You know what he did? He got creative again and he started selling for $49 a piece of clear plastic to cover the red paint. Oh, I mean to tell you, the guy literally invented a marketplace for a piece of plastic. That was the creativity. The model hadn't changed. High heels that people wear. Then what was the next thing that happened? He realized, guys, y'all will overspend on shoes too. And he made gym shoes with red bottoms. That was the creativity. So now you have your list of the 3 things that you love to do. I'll tell you this, you want more listings? Go do those 3 things. Do at least once a week. Try to get to twice a week. Try to get to 3 times a week. I promise you, if you did that, you'll connect with more people. Those people are having the natural progression of life. They're getting divorced. It's sad. They're finding new love. That's exciting. They're becoming empty nesters. Is anyone here an empty nester? Just out of curiosity. Is it awesome? Just because he's 7 now. And all right, I got goals too, you guys. Cool. Whatever it is, those things are happening anyway. You'll just find that you're around a hell of a lot more often. And if you give it a month, you're not going to see any success. You give it 6 months and you're going to start to feel like you have more friends. You give it a year and people are going to start calling you because their life event's going to happen and you're going to be there to help them get through it in a new piece of real estate. I don't know any shortcuts. I don't know any other ways. There's no new applet coming for it. It's just called loving people. That's it. All right, you guys, they have given me 8 minutes left. So I have the chat log open. I am going to answer any question you ask. It can be about any topic you want. Don't worry about being negative or positive. I take them all as they come, which is just in the presence of happiness. And I will give you any answer and nothing is off limits. The only way this gets really awkward is if no one types anything. Okay, I'm watching. Thank you for all the kind words. I really appreciate it, y'all. Who wants to go first with a question? Well, this is how you know you bombed.
Actually, can you hear me, Jason?
Okay, here we go. How much do you read daily? So, Nina, so here's what I do. I have a model for it. I'm a little bit dyslexic. I have a really hard time reading. Every 90 days, they bring in a new stack of books for me. Right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 33 in this 90-day stack. I didn't pick them. They were picked. I will do 7 to 10 15-minute reading sessions each day. When I find the things that speak to me and speak to my soul, I then tag them and I write what those things are. Then I leave those books on my desk for 90 days. And I refer to them every time that I speak. And by the end of the 90 days, I've retained those nuggets. That's my model for reading. I find if I don't do it that way, and oftentimes I'll tag a bunch of things that I'll never refer to. That means in the moment they were new knowledge, but it didn't unlock any new wisdom. So the pieces that I come back to time and time again, those are the ones that unlock the piece of wisdom inside of me. That's how I grade the books. My wife got really upset when I told her to F off. Sorry, David. Jason, do you sell homes these days? Annie, I don't sell as many as I'd like. I'm the VP of industry here at KWRI now. I'm working full time to try to make everything we're doing here better. I do try to get out once a month and still go on listing appointments just so I can remember it, understand it, and hear if there's any new objections, although I haven't heard a new objection in 21 years. What does a typical business and personal day look like for you? Joseph, I'm all out of whack. I'm not really great at the personal side. I'm a really average dad. I'm struggling everything else. I'm really good at work. And so I find that I put most of my self-esteem and my time into it. And I'm about a 3 everywhere else. I'm still trying to come to grips with that and figure out who I could be. I'm really damaged in that way. And the people closest to me are paying that price. Finding investment properties, suggestions, finding investor properties. I think that you have to go to the non-owner occupied list to do that. There's a couple companies that I like. I think Rebo, R-E-B-O Gateway has some good lists for that. At the end of the day, investment properties for me mean finding non-owner occupied and then calling them and asking them if they want to sell. And of course, you want to be in compliance with all of the TCPA and do not call list when you do that. But that's where I find most of my investment properties. I find most of my investor buyers simply through my original data bank. If I was doing that, I would be sending a survey to every single person in my database. And it would be, do you want to buy an investment piece of property over the next 5 years? If yes, write back. And that's how I would do it. And then I would simply start sending regular text messages and emails to those people that I think are good investment pieces of real estate for them to buy. But I do believe that the first step to doing more investment real estate is to realize that every one of you have the ultimate insider trading ability when it comes to real estate, because your job is to source leads all day. So when you get a listing lead, your first question shouldn't be, do I want to sell this? You shouldn't be asking, how do I make 3% on a property? You should be asking, do I want to own this? Said differently, how can I control this piece of real estate? When I think about real estate control, I think of a timeline. On one side of it, the weakest is a listing agreement. All that does is give you the right to talk about somebody else's asset. The strongest is owning a piece of property for cash. The vast majority of Americans live in the middle, which is they have a mortgage. There's a million other places on this timeline, from property management to buying with land contract to syndication to investment groups to real estate REITs. You got to figure out how you're going to play the investment game. And you top agents here, y'all know so much more than I do about selling houses. I'm in awe of you guys. But I sat with an agent the other day. My teams are not as big as most of yours, right? At my peak, we only sold about 800 houses. And in that year. And I remember I was sitting with a top agent the other day who like dwarfed that business. And she is a fierce, powerful woman, inspires me. And I was bragging. I was like, I sold 800 homes one year. How many did you sell? And she said, I don't know, 3. I track it. 3 would be my number for that year. And I was thinking, like, what do you mean? And she goes, I think it's adorable that you track yours by the number of homes you sold each year. I count how many homes I owned for cash, free and clear at the end of the year. I'm at 3. How many are you at this year? And I was like, I'm an idiot and I'm going to go sit by myself and cry tonight. Like my whole brain exploded all over the table. She was interested in building wealth and changed the way that I was looking at the world. Who picks the books? It's a great question. Lately, Gary has been picking the books. Thanks for, and he's really purposeful. The people that work for him are going to learn the things that he thinks are important. Or if he thinks you have some sort of personal failing or business gap, he's going to give you literature on it. And he simply gives you the books, and then he asks you the next day if you're finished yet. And at some times he's asked me for a full book report, which was weird. And at other times he just will wait, and then he'll say, it's so interesting because I gave you a book, yet I've seen none of it show up in our conversations. And then he just pauses. And the last one that he gave me in that ilk was this one. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics. It was written in the 70s, and it was written by a plastic surgeon. Believe it or not, it's weird to think of you'd have a self-help book written by a plastic surgeon. What he found was that no matter how many different people whose appearance he changed, he couldn't change the way that they felt about themselves. And he came up with a universal truth. And he says the secret is this: to really live, that is to find life reasonably satisfying, you must have an adequate and realistic self-image that you can live with. Said differently, you must find yourself acceptable to you. You must have a wholesome self-esteem. You must have a self that you can trust, a self that you can believe in. You must have a self that you are not ashamed to be. And I won't say anything else about that. Accused of working too much. Yeah, I do that. How do you do it without feeling guilty? I didn't say I didn't feel guilty about it. What's the name of the second book you mentioned? I don't know. Sorry, I don't remember what order I did it in. Is KW going public? If it is, no one told me about it, which would feel really awkward. So I don't think so. Every day that I talk to him, I see absolutely no evidence of that. I have never heard that in a meeting. Thank you for your honesty. Yeah, that's, let's see, the roommate portion. Yeah, that one kills me too. Did you see yourself 3 to 5 years ago being in this role at KW? Absolutely not. I saw myself having the same mission. I'm passionate about protecting this thing of ours. Like most of y'all are far more qualified to do bigger things than I am. I graduated high school with a 1.8 GPA. Like they don't let people like me be doctors or lawyers. And so I'm passionate about maintaining real estate agents. I think it's the greatest business in the world. I've done it in a bunch of different venues. The fact that they let me do it here for this short period of time, like Gary's going to find someone faster and younger and smarter than me soon. I'm sure. I know it. I'm trying to just make the most out of every day of getting to do it. It's the greatest honor of my life. All right. Those are all the questions, you guys. Anybody else? Would you kindly share the list of books on your desk? I don't know how I would do that. Trisha, we'll figure that out.
We'll get it to you.
All right, y'all. Anybody else? I want you to get every single question you have answered. Do you coach? I was a MAPS coach. I don't do that any longer. Who is the first add to your team in building your investments team? It depends what sort of investments you're doing. I would tell you that the key to your real estate business is the same key to your investment business. Daniel, I might ask a different question. Gary always says if you ask the wrong question, you're always going to get the wrong answer. The question that I would ask is there any way to line up the lead generation for my real estate company with the lead generation for my investment company? This is to say that I would identify the exact type of properties that I want to invest in. And then I would ask the question, who in the country has the best lead generation for those type of properties? Then I would go copy their model. I wouldn't try to be creative. I would just copy it 100%. I believe every question in life is solved in a very specific order. Number 1, system and model. Number 2, a piece of technology. Number 3, a person. And it's whenever you try to solve it in a different order, everything goes to hell. So if you try to solve the person before the system and model of the tech, those persons flounder. It's like everybody who ever tried to start a real estate team and the thing implodes. It's usually because they started by recruiting some people before they had real models and systems or technology. Or it's the person that has systems and models and then goes and brings in a bunch of people and it breaks because there's no technology to hold it together. It's always that order. Ask the people question last. Make sure you have the best systems and models and tech first. Using your roommate thoughts, what's the best way to grow a team based on love or wisdom? I think that's such a brilliant question. The way that I would think about it is there's 2 types of teams. And this is going to sting a bit. This is going to sound really terrible. There's no other way to say it, though. There's talent-based teams and there's headcount-based teams. That's a truth. They're very different and they're built very different ways. Talent-based teams are defined as a small group of people who are really highly personally talented in whatever you have them doing. Headcount-based teams are a large group of people who succeed regardless of their talent levels. The difference between the two is one of them has to be based on systems and models, and the other one can be based on people. So when I interview top agents and they say, our team is crushing it, and I say, well, great, tell me about your systems and models. And they're like, well, I just have really great people. Yeah, that's a talent-based team. You can grow and make money on that. But then there's other teams that will tell you, look, I don't really know the name of everyone on my team, but this is the model we run for lead generation. This is the model we run for database entry. This is the model we run for pay-per-click leads. This is our financial model. And to be honest with you, it won't really matter so much who they bring in. It's kind of like the way the Patriots think about football. It's very different than the way that the Detroit Lions think about football. I make no judgment on the difference in success that they've had. The Patriots can put almost anybody into their system. All right, y'all. That's what I got. So on behalf of Gary Keller, Josh team, and I want to tell you, you got 837 market centers in this company. Y'all, I didn't do this at any of them other than this one today. And I want you to know that that speaks directly to the leadership in your market centers and how they think about you. I want to close on one final quote from the book Giftology. I talked to one of your agents who was telling me about the gifts that they give. And it dawned on me that I don't know anything about giving gifts. I got to give them for birthdays and anniversaries and weddings and bar mitzvahs and Bat Mitzvah and Kwanzaa and Christmas. I can go on. And I don't know anything about the art of giving gifts. I just give people stuff that I think they might like. And it turns out that's not a good model. So I read this book. And you know what the first thing I learned was? Gift giving and those little touches, they commemorate not just certain events, but people, places, and the things that are important to us. Listen to this. In essence, they become the symbol of the value that you place on the relationship. They become the symbol of the value you place on the relationship. Which is why for your 30th wedding anniversary, you don't just give a dustpan, because that would be a strange symbol of the relationship. And so now, come full circle, the gift that your leadership gave you today, whether you think that I'm full of it or fun or not, think of the value that they place on your relationship. Because in order to do this, here's what had to happen. Number one, they had to go through the 31 different hoops and walls that I have to make sure that this sort of thing doesn't happen to me very often. Number two, they had to explain how much this matters. And number three, they had to care enough about you to set aside not only their time, but ask you to set aside your time to try to leave this thinking about the world just a touch differently. That's the gift. We believe at Keller Williams that our job is to give gifts to the consumer on a daily basis. That's the idea. We're not alone in that, by the way. Wind this up and consider this for a second. There's an amazing quote here. Listen to this. This is the age of the platform. Listen to what Jeff Bezos says. He says, we see our customers as invited guests to a party, and we're the hosts. It's our job every day to make every important aspect of that party a little bit better and a little bit more fun. So we think it's our job to give you gifts, and we think it's your job to go give your customers gifts. Now, if you had to think about what Jeff Bezos just said, and you realized that it was your job to be throwing this party and that everyone in your data bank was invited, have you been throwing a good one in 2020, or does it suck? Are you throwing the P. Diddy white party, or are you throwing something that no one wants to come to? This is the gift, to stop and realize that if we want to be done starting over, we can't keep giving up. That if people do business with people they like, our opportunity today is to be likable to more people. That if we're the hosts of the parties, it's our job to make the party something that we would want to go to. And that's as much of a thing for your market center as it is for your customers, because this thing of ours, KW, this thing of ours is this giant garden. And some of it is beautiful right now, and it is in full bloom. And other parts of it look like absolute hell. And other parts of it seem to only look good seasonally. And you know what? You're all part of it. You're all tending it locally with your people. Some of us get to tend to it nationally for a short period of time, but the garden is us. That's the difference between us and every one of your competitors, by the way. They're not connected like you are. They're connected through an idea, a business plan, a stock option plan, a piece of technology. We're not. Just spoiler alert, that's not what we have. We're connected through a culture. God, family, business, in that order. That's what connects us. That's who we are. If it's good and true for us, it must be good and true for everybody. So when you look up and you see injustice in some social segment of the population, residential real estate can fix that. You see an area where minorities are largely renting instead of owning, rush in there and make them buy houses. Leasing a piece of America is great, but owning it is how we create generational wealth. You see people that don't understand wealth building and have been left behind, go teach it. It's in Connect. Go teach them the path to money. You got another group of people in your data bank that all they want to do is live the good life, and you're lucky enough to have them there. Go help them do that at a higher level. Change the world through home sales. It's not corny, it's human. It's one of Maslow's 6 hierarchy of needs, shelter. Go take it to the people. All right, you guys, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here with you.
Can you hear me, Rich?
Jason, please, I'd like to say a few words. Thank you so much for your leadership and your amazing insight that you have. It's wonderful that to be a part of Keller Williams. I want to share one of my experiences with all of you. There was I was one of the first owners of a market center in the Northeast, it was, I think my market center is the second oldest in the New York, New Jersey region, and so when I was, I'm very analytical, so when I was looking at the different models. Remax, I had done consulting for Remax for a couple of years on the technology side, and Weichert, we did some work for them for a couple of years. And so they, of course, they wanted to be associated with me. And then I was looking, I just Googled, real estate companies, franchises. And so then I came across this company called Keller Williams. And then so I met this guy named Gary Keller. Gary Keller said to me, well, I know what you can do. I know what I can do for you. Tell me what you can do for the world. And then I met this young lady named Mo Anderson. Now, mind you, and Mo Anderson is the reason why I joined this company. So Mo Anderson, who helped build this company, this wonderful, amazing, cultural company, she said, I got a Quran. So our region was owned by Muhammad Abbasi, Muslim person, and I'm a Orthodox Hindu, and so Mo Abbasi, who I knew from the 80s, and that's a different story in itself. We had a great relationship. So Mo Abbasi Mo Anderson said, Mo Abbasi, in last Christmas, Mo Abbasi gave me the Quran. And, and she said, this Christmas, I gave him the Bible. And, and that was at, FSO 15 years ago. And, that talks about, that's what the culture of our organization is about. We have one of the longest tenured team leaders in our market center. We have one of the longest tenured MCAs, and we have we're small, but we're making big profits. And I am thankful to people like Jason Abrams. He's a wonderful person, a wonderful speaker. I mean, people of this caliber that speak the way they do, and with the content, and it's just thank you so much, Jason. Love you so much, and God bless.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. And I know some of you are thinking, wait a minute, we didn't talk about tech, or we didn't talk about this, or we didn't talk about that. We could have done that, but I truly believe that real estate agents, we have a choice to make right now. We're either going to double down on the truth about people, and that when we're more human, more often with more people, we win. And the technologies and everything that we're building, all it should do is make us more human more often, put us in the right time, in the right place more often. We could go on for another hour about how we're planning on doing that, but the humanity has to come first. It just has to, guys. Okay, I got to run. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Jason.
Well, guys, was that amazing, or was that amazing? I mean, that's what Keller Williams is all about. I mean, there's we have the best financial model, we have the best culture, but these are all things that were built over time. I thank India, and I thank Joe Coso, our team leader, and everybody that's been a part of organizing this wonderful, wonderful thing. And the one thing, I mean, there's so many things about Keller Williams that I love, but collaboration, innovation and collaboration is something that has been part of the fabric of America. And I'm just so proud to be in business with people like Joe and other associates in our market center. And so thank you all.
Thank you, Raj.
And I believe that Leslie, I think in the office, they're having a problem with the internet there. So I think they just dropped off. So on behalf of Leslie, I want to thank all of you for being here. And I want to thank everybody that was involved in putting this together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. It was awesome.
Hey, Joe, can you
Excellent. Thank you.
Joe, can you say a few words? India, can you guys, I think this is our last session, right?
I think they both dropped off.
Oh, they did. Okay. All right. All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks,